this kind of stuff doesn't happen in Fulton all the time.
Tonight, neighbors react after a shooting in Fulton sent 4 people to the hospital.
25 seconds after the rain really picked up, we have 8-ton roof sitting in the middle of the plaza parking lot.
Plus, destruction at the lake after damaging winds blew through this area this weekend.
I looked out the window and my car was just gone.
And thefts from cars in Columbia are up. What officials say you can do so your car isn't next. This is KOMU 8 News after the game.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
Tonight, we start with an update on an overnight shooting in Fulton that sent 4 people to the hospital. Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Spain. Thanks for joining us tonight. The Fulton's police chief told KOMU 8 that the shooting happened at the Fulton Event Center. 4 victims went to 2 different area hospitals with non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. No one died. The chief says officers found between 30 to 40 shell casings in the area and stayed on scene until about 8 this morning. The shooting itself happened late last night. According to the property owner, the event center was rented out from 6 to 11 p.m. for an 80th birthday party. He says he watched the security footage back today and saw people leaving the event center at 8:15 p.m. But he says around 1:15 a.m., dozens of people in their cars came to the property. One Fulton resident says she heard police sirens around that time.
The past couple of weeks it has been, there's been a lot of sirens in town, and I just kind of brush them off because, could just be little stuff. But last night, I don't know, there was a different feeling to it. It felt a little odd that they were there that late, that close to my house.
Other neighbors close to the scene told KOMU 8 News they heard multiple shots fired and cars speeding away. Fulton's police chief says officers have not made any arrests. Well, a scary scene last night in Camden County as winds picked up and moved the roof off of a shopping center. And as KOMU 8's Corey Johnson reports, 2 employees saw it all.
There was debris flying everywhere, and we knew something serious was happening.
The home of 15 local businesses, now with an uncertain future.
25 seconds after the rain really picked up, we have 8-ton roof sitting in the middle of the plaza parking lot.
Damaging straight-line winds left some Osage Beach businesses unrecognizable, and 2 Sailors Tattoos employees say they saw it all.
Their door had been broken. There was a lot of debris in front of their door blocking them from getting out.
Police have been patrolling the scene all day to make sure nobody crosses the yellow tape. So it's been pretty quiet, but witnesses say that's a stark contrast from the events here Saturday night.
A loud bang like a locomotive wrecked.
Windows were vibrating. I mean, it's going to sound weird, but they were going like whoa, 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 whoa. The sound was wild.
They say it took less than a minute.
It can happen in the blink of an eye, and it could take a couple weeks to really see this turned around.
As dozens have come to examine the damage done, this couple says they're just thankful it wasn't worse.
10 seconds earlier would have been part of the shrapnel rolling around here on the lot.
And that, like we said, nobody was hurt, so that's all you could ask for in a situation like this.
Corey Johnson, KOMU 8 News, Osage Beach.
Yeah, certainly glad everyone is safe. City building inspectors are scheduled to evaluate those storefronts tomorrow. Then the owners can start cleaning up if their businesses are deemed safe to enter. And Kenton, this was a system that you guys were following and tracking all through the day yesterday.
Yeah, we definitely were. We had our eye on it. There was a severe thunderstorm warning for that system as it rolled through because of the damaging winds. That's exactly what we saw. You can see on this line that really came in. It went through Camdenton and then eventually to Osage Beach here. Hit Osage Beach around about 7 p.m. That's what I'm going to say. Right around 6:55, this was rolling in. And as it was gaining strength, it really brought in these strong winds right out in front of all this heavy rain in behind it. And if we go a little closer, this is where that damage report came in. If you want a nice locator for where this was in association with Osage Beach. And here's the official statement from the National Weather Service in collaboration with Emergency Management. They're saying that, again, straight line winds accelerated from the lake area. The winds then exited the lake through a small cove just north of Grand Glaze Creek and lifted a large portion of the roof off the Strip Mall. So certainly a very serious situation there, but again, luckily no one was hurt. And we can see here a lot of clear skies now. We had a lot of wind today. Our winds gusting between 30 and 40 miles per hour for a lot of our day. We have more wind in the week ahead. I'm tracking that hour by hour. Coming up, Emily.
Okay, thanks, Kenton. Turning now to COVID-19 in Missouri, the number of hospitalizations across the state is on the rise. There were just over 2,500 people in the hospital with COVID in our state when numbers were last updated on Friday. That purple graph there on the left shows that upward trend. The green graph highlights the number of patients in ICU beds, which is more than 500. Nearly 300 are on ventilators. The Missouri Hospital Association is calling for action as cases continue to surge throughout the state. In a letter to Governor Parson, the president of the group urged the governor to issue a statewide mask mandate in response to the pandemic. MHA's president said they've had 20 conversations with Parson this year to exchange ideas and information, but that conditions are now, quote, far worse than when the pandemic began in the spring. Parson is one of 16 governors in the U.S. who has not issued a statewide mask mandate. Here's a look now at your latest COVID-19 numbers statewide. DHSS reported over 3,700 new cases today. That brings the total number since the start of the pandemic to over 239,000. The state also reported one additional death. This comes a day after we saw record-breaking new cases across the state. Another new grim milestone for us here in the U.S. Today, the country surpassed 11 million cases of COVID-19. That includes 1 million cases just this past week. Yesterday, officials across the country reported 156,000 cases. That's the 11th day in a row that the country reported more than 100,000 cases in a single day. More than a dozen states, including Missouri, saw record-breaking case counts. But as those records are broken, a glimmer of hope perhaps. Infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci says the U.S. could start getting back to normal as early as April. But Dr. Fauci says that's dependent on several factors, including vaccine availability and how closely people follow health measures.
I think that if we get most of the country vaccinated in the second, third quarter of the year, and the vaccine continues to prove its efficacy and people adhere to those fundamental measures, I think we can start approaching the degree. It's not going to be a light switch.
It comes after pharmaceutical company Pfizer released early data showing its vaccine is more than 90% effective. Another company is expected to release its results in the coming weeks. Turning now to COVID-19 internationally, France has been the hardest hit country in Europe, and it's now on the verge of passing 2 million cases. France is in its second national lockdown in an attempt to curb the spread of the virus. The country's president says the government is watching where cases go in the coming days to decide what's next. In France, the daily number of new cases is going down, but the country's death count is still high. Officials say nationwide, more than 90% of ICU beds are full. Across the English Channel in the UK, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is back in isolation after he came into close contact with someone who tested positive for COVID-19. He met with a small group of lawmakers on Thursday, and one person in that group later developed symptoms and tested positive. The Prime Minister's office says he will continue to work from home at 10 Downing Street. Johnson has already recovered from the coronavirus. In April, the Prime Minister was hospitalized and in intensive care after getting COVID. Ahead for us tonight, Columbia police say there is an increase in people taking things from parked cars. What officials say you should do so it doesn't happen to you.
Our winds are pretty calm right now these overnight hours, but we're going to be breezy tomorrow and even more wind later on this week. I'll tell you which day is going to be the windiest coming up.
Welcome back. Tonight in a KOB Rate special report, we're detailing a recent spike in thefts from cars. Sometimes thieves are actually taking the entire car. KOB Rate's Mackenzie Christian shows us what police say you can do to prevent this from happening to you.
You know the sound, but would you hear it in the night?
Had to have been like in the dead of the night.
Columbia residents have been reporting more people breaking into cars. Last year, there were 325 reported thefts from cars in Colombia. This year, there have already been 409. That's a 25% increase in 1 year. And over 400 reports of stolen items from cars, but it was an even worse case scenario for Mackenzie Beatty.
I looked out the window and my car was just gone.
Someone broke into and then stole her car a few weeks ago.
So it was literally parked right there, like the spot right up next to our house.
Beatty says she has no idea how it happened, but the thieves might have just gotten lucky.
I'm good about locking my doors, but obviously I'm not perfect. Like, I could have left one unlocked, you never know. I hear of break-ins on East Campus all the time because it's all college kids, but I've never heard of someone's entire car getting stolen.
The Columbia Police Department says there are a few things you could do to prevent this sort of thing from happening to you. You should take your valuables like your purse and keys out of your car at night. Make sure to always lock your doors and park in a lit area if possible. Beatty says none of these things kept her car from being stolen, but she does say security cameras may have helped. Mackenzie Christian, KMU8 News, Columbia.
CPD says if you think your car has been broken into or you witness any suspicious activity, you should call 911 and file a police report. Kenton.
Well, Emily, our temperatures tomorrow, that's what we're looking at here. We're going to be around 60 degrees, but we are going to be on an up and down trend. Eventually, a big warm up is in store. And taking a look at the week ahead, everything you need to know from temperatures to rain chances to wind coming up.
Also tonight, one small launch for SpaceX, one giant leap for commercial space travel, the historic launch, and the Missouri connection. That's all coming up after this break.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff.
And there it is, a historic and successful launch for SpaceX. 4 astronauts lifted off from Cape Canaveral in a Falcon 9 rocket. It happened just before 6:30 tonight, and they're on their way to the International Space Station. This launch marks the first time NASA formally handed over a full mission to a private company. The mission comes after a successful test flight with 2 astronauts back in June. Officials say this now frees up NASA to focus its attention on bigger projects.
Ultimate goal is to have more resources to do things for which there is not yet a commercial marketplace, like go to the moon and on to Mars.
And there's a Missouri connection to today's historic launch. NASA astronaut and today's mission commander Michael Hopkins is from Lebanon, Missouri, and went to the School of the Osage. He says he never imagined he would go to space.
It starts with a big dream, and then you just keep going. And so I think if we can inspire folks around there, I hope that maybe that does, and someone's following in our footsteps, and someday someone from Lake of the Ozarks is putting a foot on Mars. That would be pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing indeed. The astronauts will be on the International Space Station for the next 6 months. Kenton, I can never get over watching a rocket take off. It's historic every time.
It is, Emily. I agree. Every single time. It never gets boring, never gets old. It's fantastic what they're able to do, especially now even making some of these reusable, right, with SpaceX. They're reusing some of those rocket boosters, which is fantastic as well. When we look, we have a lot of high pressure here in the southern and central portions of the United States. It's going to give us a lot of sunshine this week. Of course, the tropics here closer to the United States of America are pretty calm. But when we look down to the south, that's not the way, because there is another hurricane following the same path almost that Hurricane Eta took just a couple weeks ago. This is Hurricane Iota. It's the 30th named storm in this hurricane season. Of course, another record-breaking storm. It's now a Category 2. It is currently intensifying. It's already rapidly intensified yesterday, but it's going to continue that way and is expected to do quite a bit of damage, of course, once again, in Nicaragua and over in Honduras as well. So this is Hurricane Eta's path, and it made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane on our election day on November 3rd, and it happened right here in Nicaragua. Also had a lot of damage in parts of Honduras. And this is a big issue because they're not ready for another mega storm. They still have levees that were destroyed from Eta. They have dams that are still at capacity. And they also have some floodwaters that are still up to rooftops. Also, in Honduras specifically, damages are estimated around $5 billion, which is more than 20% of their GDP. And that's all just from Eta. Now, Iota, also expected to be a major Category 4 hurricane again, the same as Eta was just a couple weeks ago. It's likely going to hit on Tuesday, which again, this election day was a Tuesday as well. We're talking 2 weeks separating two Category 4 hurricanes in the same place in Central America. Devastating, absolutely devastating. This is not going to be good for those folks. When we look here inland, our temperatures are actually fairly seasonal for this time of year, and that's where we're going to be at the beginning of this week. Our average high this time of year, 53 degrees now. Our average low, 34. We're going to be there throughout the next couple days. A little warm here tomorrow, but then we're back down to 54 on Tuesday, and even in the middle 30s for those low temperatures. Then on Wednesday, we have a warm front coming through Missouri. That's going to get us well above average again. We're talking about our temperatures being 15 to 20 degrees above average. Actually, our low temperatures are going to be closer to average high temperatures for this time of year. Meanwhile, that high temperature on Thursday around 70 degrees. So very warm. We also have a wind to talk about this week. We have winds gusting 25 miles per hour tomorrow. Tuesday is calm. That seasonal day, it's calm. Then we're at Wednesday, 25 mile per hour winds as that warm front comes in. Thursday is going to be our windiest day. Winds are gusting, I believe, up to about 40 miles per hour there on Thursday, and it's likely going to be a bit breezy as we head throughout Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as well. We're dry all week, by the way, too. A lot of sunshine ahead. 34 degrees for our low temperature tonight with these clear skies. We are calmer tonight, but winds will gust back to around 25 miles per hour tomorrow from the west. 60 degrees, 61 for that high temperature. Then we're at 54 on Tuesday. That's our only seasonal day this week. We are on that warming trend with that breeze coming in from the south on Wednesday with a warm front around 70 and windy certainly on Thursday. Then our next chance of rain isn't until Sunday with a cold front that will then cool us back down to more seasonal temperatures as we begin Thanksgiving week. Emily.
Okay, thanks, Kenton. Coming up on Sports Extra, with the Chiefs on a bye, we take a look around the AFC West. But first, here are your lottery numbers. Good luck. Welcome back. A popular stop on the Katy Trail is closing its doors after 5 years of business. The owners of the station house at Catfish Katie's announced that shutdown this morning. On the restaurant's Facebook page, the owners said they were closing down due to personal reasons. They said in the post, quote, "With a recent personal diagnosis of a lifelong medical condition and a refocus of energy on our 1-year-old daughter, this is ultimately the best decision for the health and well-being of our family." The 2020 season for Catfish Katie's officially ended on Thursday, according to the restaurant's Facebook. The owners noted the business has survived floods and being part of a pandemic rather. They said closing the business came with mixed emotions. Community members across Missouri showed their support in the post's comments. As of Sunday afternoon, that post had over 100 comments and shares. Well, ahead for us, a new breakfast brew, and we're not talking about coffee. That's after the break. Also coming up tonight on Sports Extra, we take a look at esports, one of the fastest growing industries in the world.
Welcome back. Here's another look at your day tomorrow. We're starting off around 34 degrees, and then we're warming up to around 61. A slightly above average day because of that high temperature. Again, winds around 25 miles per hour, gusting there from the west. Calmer on Tuesday, but also a little cooler, 54. Then we're at 63 Wednesday, 70 on Thursday with that wind being strongest on Thursday. And our next chance of rain in the next 8 days is only next Sunday. So it's going to be a while before we have another rain chance.
Well, bacon and beer, if those are among your favorite things, there's a new brew for you. Waffle House and Oconee Brewing Company paired up to make bacon and kegs. Get it? Bacon and kegs. Induced red ale. The brewer says the beer will be available in 6-packs, draft and growlers starting mid-December. The company says it smells like bacon and pairs well with breakfast foods. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know. Oh, bacon beer.
Beer for breakfast, Emily?
I don't, too early.
Aren't you supposed to go to Waffle House after you've had a few beers? Usually the way it goes sometimes.
Valid point. Lots coming up tonight in Sports Extra, Ben.
Yeah, just a few of the things we're going to get to. It is a week off for the Chiefs, but the NFL rolls along.